Welcome to the Love Doc Podcast. I'm your co-host, Raina Butcher, here with Dr. Hensley, our host. And today, episode 10.
Yeah.
I can't believe we're already here.
Look at us.
I know. I'm so proud of us.
I am so proud of us.
And I'm really excited for this episode.
Me too.
I think it's really going to intrigue a lot of people because we're going to settle the debate. Are they a narcissist?
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
That word is used a lot.
A lot. It's overused.
Yeah, it is overused.
Yeah.
Way overused.
Especially in the social media landscape.
Yep.
Well, and I think, too, it's easy, when you go through a really bad breakup or a really bad divorce, it's just an easy label to put onto someone.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't even really, I feel like, know the science behind narcissism.
Right.
So I think we start there.
So I'm here to bring it to you.
Yes. So let us know the science first.
Yeah. So there's actually some debate in the psychological arena around what truly causes narcissism. So older theories suggested that early developmental experiences causes a fragmented sense of self, and narcissism is the way that the personality develops to protect against that fragmented sense of self. There's theories that really suggest that core shame and, low self-image, low self-esteem is a part of the development of narcissism. And again, that narcissism is a defense mechanism against feeling that shame. But newer research, and I'm a big fan of Craig Malkin. He wrote a book called Rethinking Narcissism. And I'm a big proponent of his theories. He really emphasizes that narcissists don't necessarily have core shame. And that they really kind of believe that they're as great as they act like they are.
Yeah.
Right? And that narcissism is on a spectrum. I totally agree with that opinion, that narcissism is on a spectrum. So on one end of the spectrum, we have what's called egoism. And egoism is the complete opposite of narcissism. So it's really people that are boundaryless, that never speak up for themselves, that get walked on, trampled on, right? That are always like putting themselves last. They struggle with codependence, all those things. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have narcissistic personality disorder. So people who completely lack empathy, people who are exploitative, people
Which
who
is the most severe,
entitled.
Right?
Yeah. Right. So people can have narcissistic traits, but it doesn't necessarily mean they have narcissistic personality disorder, right? And I think a lot of people don't understand that. They say, oh, you're a narcissist. Well, would you be able to be clinically diagnosed as a narcissist? And let me also add, this is not clinical advice. I am not your psychologist, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not a clinical psychologist. I'm a social psychologist.
Right.
And I'm a coach. I don't do clinical psychotherapy. So this is not clinical advice. I am a subject matter expert on narcissism because I've been studying it for 20 years. I've been studying the literature, the scientific literature around it for 20 years. So I'm very well versed from a research standpoint. I've also had a lot of personal experience with narcissists. I've encountered a lot of narcissists in my practice. I can't tell them they are narcissists.
Right. You can't clinically
I
diagnose.
can't clinically diagose them. But honestly, it doesn't take a rocket scientist.
No.
Okay, the DSM criteria are online. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about narcissism. Therapists are actually very not great at diagnosing narcissism because narcissists are master manipulators.
Right.
They can manipulate a therapist for an hour.
Right.
Right?
Sense. Yes.
The people that know that their partners are narcissists are the people that have intimate relationships with the narcissist. Right? So the research has really developed, and psychology is a very broad discipline. So evolutionary psychologists suggest that there's an evolutionary component to narcissism, that it can at times be protective, right? And can have survival benefits. We have Freudian psychology around really early developmental experiences as infants even, suggesting that those types of experiences where the needs are not met properly can contribute to narcissism as an adult. There are other researchers that suggest that there are healthy levels of narcissism. And I agree with that. I think if we're looking like at a 1 to 10 scale, with 1 being egoism, where you're a complete doormat, and 10 being you're completely, narcissistic,
Self-absorbed.
entitled, exploitative, right?
All right.
6 is good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that means you can stand up for yourself. You have a healthy amount of self-esteem. You're more likely to advocate for yourself. You're more likely to take chances to be successful because of the confidence that you have, etc.
It's a very interesting perspective. I've
Right.
never looked at it this way.
Yeah. So there can be healthy levels of narcissism. But then, of course, you can slide up that scale, right? And I think it is a sliding scale. I think even people with NPD can hover anywhere from an 8 to a 10.
And can specific relationships bring that out more?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Absolutely. The degree of threat in the relationship, right, can make someone more or less narcissistic,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Okay. A lot of this
Yes.
is my opinion because there's so much science and there's
Right.
so many contributions to the field of studying narcissism, again, from the evolutionary perspective.
Contributions and contradictions. So
Yes,
then that
there are
makes it-
some.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can look at it from, developmental psychology, evolutionary psychology, clinical psychology, going into psychopathology. There are a lot of perspectives. Psychology is a huge discipline, and
Yeah.
we have expertise in a lot of different areas. A lot of people don't realize that psychology is this enormous
Yeah, I'm
discipline.
learning a ton right now.
Like we have cognitive psychologists that study thoughts. We have thoughts and emotions. We have developmental psychologists that study, human lifespan and the development, nature and nurture and its impact on development. We have neuropsychologists. We have social psychologists like me who study human interaction, which includes the science of relationships. We have
Are there
just
environmental psychologists?
not that I'm aware of. No.
Just throwing that out there. Just thinking out loud.
We have school psychologists,
Yeah.
and we have clinical psychologists that deal with mental health. So psychology is it's an absolutely enormous field.
Yeah.
And there's a little contribution from all of those places,
Sure.
right? How do narcissists think? Well, let's look at the cognitive aspects of narcissism. How do narcissists behave in romantic relationships? Well, then you would look to someone like me,
Right.
who's a social psychologist, or even, partnering with clinical psychologists who are marriage and family therapists that see a lot of narcissism in relationships. So the theories and the contributions are vast.
Right. Right.
So I'm just going to put that out there.
Which makes it that much more interesting, I think, and that much more compelling to people that, and I feel like that's why people really hone in on it because it is so vast and it is so complex. But what people I don't think always realize is that sometimes, and this is what I want to get into specifically with you because of your expertise, is that sometimes it's attachment wounds.
Yes, and not narcissism.
Yes. So break down the different attachment styles
Okay.
versus a narcissist.
Okay.
Like what those different behaviors look like.
Yes. So first and foremost, attachment is really a pattern of behavior based on subconscious beliefs. And it's very changeable. It is very changeable with the right tools. Narcissism is integrated into one's personality, which tends to be stable, meaning that you're going to see it infiltrate multiple aspects of someone's life. Where attachment wounding is really going to show up in the sense of romantic relationships, narcissism sort of becomes integrated into lots of areas of their life. Like people that have narcissistic personality disorder struggle with authority, so they might have trouble in their work relationships. They may have trouble like with their kids' sports coaches, right? Not agreeing with them and being, if we're looking at overt, narcissists, being aggressive and manipulative to try to get their kid to play more in sports.
Right.
You're going to have issues potentially in friendships. And so you're going to see it infiltrate lots of aspects. Where people with attachment problems, it really mostly shows up in romantic relationships, maybe a little bit in friendships. But really, it's a romantic relationship issue.
Yeah. I think that's a huge nuance right there, just right there to be able to be like, okay, yeah, I see these types of things in this person in their entire life.
Yeah.
Because
the narcissist that was in my life the longest struggled with employment because of a real problem with authority.
I'm going to try to be really good today. I really am.
We're not going to tell you who these people are.
I'm going to try to be so good because I don't want to sound, I never want to sound bitter when it comes to talking about my ex, because I'm not. Like, I'm past it. And I know that sometimes when people label their ex as a narcissist, it automatically makes them sound bitter.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm really not. I'm not bitter.
Oh no, I witnessed it.
yeah. I'm really not bitter towards my ex at all. I feel like I've kind of let that hate go for him.
Oh, absolutely. And you don't carry any bitterness.
No. But man, he has a lot of those traits.
So it doesn't take a rocket scientist.
Right.
Go look up the DSM criteria. This is why romantic partners are actually the best people to say, yeah, you're a narcissist or not. But you need to go look up the clinical criteria for NPD. Somebody can have some narcissistic traits, but they might not have NPD. Right. You have to meet I think it's 5 out of the 8 criteria or something like that. For the clinical diagnosis of narcissism.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's different subtypes of narcissism. And so I'll go into that. But let me kind of go back to your original question, which was, how can attachment wounds sometimes mimic narcissism? And how do you tell the difference? The anxious preoccupied does not mimic narcissism. They're the least likely to mimic narcissism.
Makes sense.
They are overly apologetic.
Yeah,
they try hard to meet people's needs.
Yeah.
They put themselves last. They are boundaryless, right? That is not indicative of narcissism. Let's shift gears to first the fearful avoidant. The fearful avoidant has a huge wound of betrayal and subconsciously thinks everybody's out to hurt them.
Right.
So they're already living their life on the defense inside of their romantic relationships specifically. They don't necessarily carry that into work or friendships.
Right.
It's really showing up in their intimate romantic relationship. And because they have a disorganized pattern of relating, the fearful avoidant can be both anxious, and they can activate and they can try to gain connection. And then they can, when they feel that they've been hurt or they're about to be hurt, they can deactivate and withdraw and sort of, slam the door in your face, right?
Yeah.
Figuratively, slam the door, or maybe even literally slam the door in your face. And they can, especially in conflict, be manipulative, but it's unintentional manipulation.
And they come back often and apologize
all the time.
Yeah.
They experience a ton of shame after they've had episodes of poor behavior, and they often come back and apologize and say, I don't know why I said that. I don't know why I did that. I'm so sorry. I couldn't control my anger. I don't know why I get so angry. The narcissist isn't going to do that.
Yeah.
The narcissist is going to say, you made me do it.
Right.
Or I didn't do it at all. They're going to completely gaslight you and say it didn't even happen.
Yeah. They're going to control and manipulate.
Their desire is to control and manipulate, and the desire is for power at all times.
Yeah.
The fearful avoidant, the reason that they can be mean during conflict is because they feel they have been hurt and wronged.
Right.
And because they have this deep, deep desire, this deep attachment need to be seen, heard, and understood inside of their romantic relationship. They feel like, okay, you've hurt me, so I automatically and subconsciously want to lash back out at you because then you'll understand me.
Right.
And I'm fulfilling my deep attachment need to be understood.
Yeah.
And so then the playing field is level. And once the playing field is level, then we can reconnect and repair. Right? And narcissists aren't in there to repair.
Right.
They're not in there to be understood. Yeah. They're in there to dominate, to control, to manipulate, and to win at absolutely all costs. Does that hit home?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not just with my ex, but, and I feel comfortable speaking about this too, but with my sister-in-law. I mean, she... Man,
we will not say which sister-in-law that we are talking about.
No, I will not. I will never say names. And it's difficult for me to talk about.
Yeah.
Because
some of the things you've shared with me about that have made me physically sick.
Look, I mean, you can kind of see the lump in my throat right now because it's painful. It's painful just knowing sort of what my brother is going through, like secretly, and not really knowing, but just knowing sort of what, she's put, the whole family through.
Right. And we're not saying she is a diagnosed narcissist.
Oh, no.
We're not saying.
No.
I think we can say
I can say a lot
that
of
the behavior overlaps with things that narcissists do. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. You know,
we want to be careful.
And it's interesting that I am bringing her up because this morning when I woke up and I was getting my coffee, this is funny. I'll admit it. It's fine. You know what? And if she listens or my brother listens or whoever listens, it's okay. Because this is coming from a place of, it really is coming from a place of love.
And all you're saying is that you've noticed behavior that isn't good.
Oh, it's not good
and
at
is
all.
Hurtful.
And it's not good for her children, and it makes me sad. It makes me sad for her. It makes me sad for my brother, and it especially makes me sad for my niece and nephew. So it's
the children are the real victims of narcissists.
Absolutely.
Oh, let's be real clear about that.
Yeah.
Because they'll use their children as pawns to control and to manipulate and to hurt the other parent.
Especially control.
Yeah.
But, I was getting my coffee ready this morning. And so on my fridge is full of family pictures and pictures of friends. And so the group family pictures, I have my sister-in-law's face covered up with magnets. And just because it's too painful to look at her. Like, it's just, I still have anger there. I still have, just all these feelings. And so it's just better to just cover up her face. But I heard God's voice so strongly this morning, and it's so interesting that I'm bringing her up because I had no intention of bringing her up. It just kind of jumped into my mind, but that I just really needed to keep praying for her. That I really needed to pray for her and pray for whatever it is that she has going on, because I know that deep down, she just has so much pain.
Yeah.
She has so much pain, and her pain comes from some really, really deep-rooted childhood bad stuff that, of course, I will respect her privacy and not get into. But, and I know that her personality and the things that come about because of those wounds aren't always intended for malice and to be mean, but they are. But they are, and there's just so much hurt there. There's so much hurt, and again, I don't, I just, when you say certain things, and I think about just the two people that I feel like are the true narcissists that I've known in my life, I think of my ex and I think of her.
I'm going to be a little less nameless.
I don't mind being candid. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a lot going on right now. I can't name names. I mean, I've been open about my first marriage. Yeah. I have.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to diagnose my ex-husband as having NPD. Somebody else did that we went and saw.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
Yeah.
And he's not here to defend himself.
Yeah, see, that's why we have to be careful.
Yeah, I don't like, it's so hard.
It is hard.
I am so stuck in this place where I am using my experiences to help people heal, because people have to know where I came from to know where I am now. Because if you knew where I was and the amount of abuse, serious abuse.
Oh, I know. I do know.
Yeah, you do know that I endured. I mean, in every area, every type of abuse you can imagine. Yeah. And how beat down I was, and how just in the depths of hell I was. And to have crawled my way out of that, and to not just have come to baseline of being okay, but to have thrived, and to have grown, and to have built an empire around helping people heal.
Right.
And I'm confident in using that word. I'm building an empire. I'm dang proud of myself.
You should be. I'm proud
and
of you.
So how can I not speak about what happened to me?
You can't not. I mean, well, and that's another thing. It's like, we have to sit here. We're human. Like, we can sit here and be professional all day long, but do we really relate to the people until we're really, really authentic and human? And, because I'll be honest, sometimes I don't want to keep my shit together when it comes to my sister-in-law. I'm past my ex. I really am.
Oh, I know you are.
But my sister-in-law is fresh.
Because it's still ongoing.
Yes, it's still ongoing, and it's fresh, and my brother, and all these things. I mean, just yesterday, I'm like, to my sister, saying things because I'm mad.
Right.
I'm mad and I'm angry, and there's still a lot of anger there. But it's because I'm human.
Yeah. I just try to be so tight-lipped for my kids.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. My oldest daughter saw it all. She saw it all.
Yeah.
And she's just like, Mom, don't gaslight me. I saw it.
Yeah.
She's like, you don't have to paint a rosy picture. I was there.
Yeah, but you're just trying to protect her.
I know. Yeah. And so I'm just, but when he comes up, I just try to that was a good quality about your dad. He could do this or he could do that.
Yeah.
I try so hard. And because my youngest doesn't really remember her father, he passed away in 2020 and she was 3, and she doesn't really remember much of him. I want to paint a picture of somebody who had good qualities, because why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I? Because he did have some good qualities.
Of course he did.
No person, and even a narcissist, is without good qualities.
I can sit here and name off half a dozen good qualities about my ex and like 3 about my sister. One about my sister.
Yeah, gosh, I don't want to give too much information.
It's hard.
There's another narcissist in my life that has been extremely abusive to me and to people that I love. And it is re-traumatizing, and it's like, oh my gosh, here we go again. But this time I'm so much stronger. I have faith. I'm not going to be, I don't live in bitterness. I'm not absorbed. It's not as impactful to me.
Right.
And I have such strong boundaries and such strong, like, nope, you can't do this. Nope, I won't participate with that. Nope, and so I'm better off this time.
Yeah.
But, it hurts not just me, it hurts other people around me.
Oh, for sure. That's
It's hurt
the
my
most
children.
maddening part. I mean, that is the most maddening part of having to deal with a narcissist within your life, wherever that circle may be or wherever the dynamic is.
The ripple effect is huge.
So huge, because, I mean, even with my brother, because we know now which sister-in-law it is. It's okay. It's fine. She may or may not watch this.
Ooh, it's going to be bad if she does.
If she does, maybe she needs to hear it.
Okay. All right.
Maybe she needs to hear it.
The defamation ain't coming towards me.
That's right. Yeah, she needs to hear it. But that ripple effect, because here's why it hurts me so bad, is because it hurts my brother.
Yeah.
And I see what it does to my brother, and I see how beat down he is.
And your nieces.
Yes, and I've seen the evolution of his being beat down.
Yeah.
And it is devastating.
Devastating.
It is devastating.
Oh, and I work with clients all the time that are victims of narcissistic abuse. And I'm not like, hey, your partner's a narcissist, but I will say, hey, do you have concerns that your partner's a narcissist? And usually they'll say yes.
Yeah.
And I will say, well, here's the DSM criteria. You're closest to the person. You know if they fit these criteria or not. So I'm going to let you do that research. And then if you would like to go see, a clinical psychologist to just, try to get more information or to validate, do that, because I don't make diagnoses.
Narcissists usually don't want to be diagnosed as narcissists, though.
There is actually, the term is overused, but I will also say that I think it's underdiagnosed.
Yeah.
Because again, therapists that are just meeting with somebody for an hour who's a master manipulator who can put a mask on and charm anyone can absolutely show up as a normal person inside of that therapeutic session.
Yeah.
Right? But then they can go home, shed the mask, and be insanely abusive towards their intimate partner.
Right. And like you said in the beginning, like if the partner, because let me say this, my brother is far from perfect. There's some mental illness there, and so, I mean, I have no doubt that some of his mental illness has pushed my sister's mental illness even further down the spectrum.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, that's always a possibility, right, in situations.
Yeah.
I'm not really that familiar with their relationship other than just, the little that I've observed and heard, right? But I know in my own experience that my insecure attachment, so fearful avoidance, which is what I was, what you were, are notorious for attracting narcissists. Why? Because they have the betrayal wound. And the subconscious is a giant self-fulfilling prophecy. It seeks the familiar. So if you truly believe that everybody will hurt you, you are of course going to seek out people that will inevitably hurt you, right? And so the only way to stop being attracted to narcissists and abusive people or people with addictions or that are severely avoidant or whatever is to earn your attachment security. That's the only way you're going to get out of it, because you will keep repeating it. You will not see the red flags or you'll dismiss them, and you're going to keep going after the same type of people. I mean, I have people that are on their third marriage with a narcissist. They're like, how did I get here? And I'm like, because your attachment wounds seek that familiarity. And a lot of narcissists are wrapped up in different packages. You know, I believe that my dad was a covert narcissist. I do. I believe he was an extremely vulnerable narcissist. And do I think that my mom made it worse? Yeah, for sure. But I think it was just like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? She's dealing with somebody who's narcissistic, and that's going to make you bitter and mean, and and it's going to make any attachment insecurities that you do have exacerbated. And so the main difference between people with attachment wounds and narcissism is, one, narcissism is largely unchangeable because it's integrated into the personality. It has a 99% failure rate in psychotherapy. That should tell you something, right? Like, there's not a lot of hope, right? The entire premise of narcissism is lack of empathy and lack of self-awareness, right? Like, narcissists don't know they're narcissists. They just don't. They don't know they're narcissists.
What happens? What happens in, like...
I have some theories.
Well, I want to hear them.
Okay.
Because I'm very curious. Like, what happens in childhood that creates that?
Yes. I'm going to say this is my personal belief, because I've looked at, again, the contributions from evolutionary psychology. I think there's contributions from neuropsychology showing that narcissists tend to have, improper levels of MAO. They might have higher testosterone.
What's MAO?
It's a neurotransmitter in the brain that is largely responsible for things like mood regulation. Okay. So you'll see on commercials for like MAO inhibitors for depression, things like that. Okay. There are, again, developmental theories of parenting dynamics. I have a very specific theory regarding overt narcissism, because that was what I felt like I dealt with my ex. I think particularly with a lot of male overt narcissists that tend to be like serial cheaters and tend to be very manipulative. I think they had a specific dynamic where dad was largely absent and dad was overly harsh and punishing. And then we have a mother that drastically overcompensated and drastically overpraised and enabled. Okay.
This is exactly my ex's dynamic too.
So we have a child who desperately seeks, and so I'm talking about men here, validation from same-sex parent, doesn't get any of it, only gets criticism, right? And then we have a mother who soothes that wound through praising and through enabling, right? So they learn to become addicted to the praise and validation of women. So then you grow up with a man who can only feel okay when there is a woman telling him, you're amazing.
Right.
So those type of narcissists that become the serial cheaters, which is what you and I experienced, right, is because they grew up only being soothed by that validation from mom.
Man, my mind is blown. Blown. Yeah. Because it just feels so spot on.
But then there are people that, like my father, who may rest in peace, and my dad, again, had some good qualities, but he had a lot of problems. A lot of problems. I think he was completely misdiagnosed as bipolar. I don't think my dad was bipolar. I think my dad was a narcissist. And I think maybe he had some potential borderline issues as well. Yeah. But my dad's family dynamic, very abusive stepfather, extremely critical mother. Mother that was very narcissistic and extremely critical, and he got no emotional attunement. And then he, found out that his dad wasn't his real dad when he was 18 years old, so there was a huge betrayal.
Yeah.
His stepfather which he thought was his biological father, and his biological mother had a child that was extremely favored. So he grew up sort of with this golden child in the family, and he was the, black sheep of the family, right? And so there's this defense. There was always this defensiveness in my dad that like he couldn't take an ounce of criticism. And my dad had extremely low self-awareness. I think that was one of his most difficult qualities that made socialization for him very difficult. Because if you really lack self-awareness, you don't do too well in social situations. You can't read a room. You can't read emotions.
Can't read other people.
And he struggled with that. But then he had an extreme sense of entitlement. And he was always the victim.
I feel like all narcissists have that.
I mean, that's one of the diagnostic criteria is extreme sense of entitlement.
What's the difference between covert and overt?
Yes, okay. Overt narcissists are grandiose. They brag on themselves. Like my ex always had to talk about how he was the best in sports or how he got such good grades in school or how he was the top of his class. I mean, he was always kind of like patting himself on the back to the point where other people are looking at him going like, that's weird. Right? But they don't notice it. Right. They're grandiose. They have fantasies of power. They only want to associate with powerful people or people that are special. They see themselves as extremely special. And their abuse is more overt. It's easier to see. They can become aggressive. Their manipulation it's right out there for everyone to see. Right? A covert narcissist,
a little bit more on the DL.
Very much more on the DL. Oftentimes they'll come across as kind and I'm just trying to be helpful.
Those are the really tough ones.
And, I'm just such a victim. I've been such a victim my whole life. Everybody else has treated me so poorly and I try so hard to put such good into the world, and poor me. And I'm just so downtrodden. Right. And the ways that they manipulate and control are often through inaction versus overt aggression or action.
Which actually leads to the DA and the narcissist. Because, man,
getting confused because the DA pulls away and they freeze and they don't participate and it's in action. Right? So let me show you the difference between inaction versus action.
Okay.
So an overt narcissist who's very grandiose might, buy you a car and then get mad at you and take the keys away and say, you can't drive this car anymore.
That sounds so familiar.
Where did that happen to you, right? That's an overt action, right? A covert narcissist, for example, like my dad, may have been in charge of paying the bills. And then if they pay a bill late and they get criticized, like, why was that bill late? They'll just stop paying the bills and not say a word and then let the electric get shut off and then point to you and say, well, you seem to know how to do it. Why don't you go pay the bills? If it's so easy, you go do it. So it's that inaction. Right. And then sometimes in relationships and in co-parenting, it'll be like lack of responding. It will be lack of follow through and doing what you say you're going to do, like not taking kids to the sporting events that the other parent signed up for. Those are the inactions of the vulnerable narcissist. So the actions of the vulnerable narcissist, which is also used synonymously with the term covert narcissists, I'm not saying they can't have overt abuse. They can. But they tend to really sculpt it, shape it, twist it to make it look like it was your fault that it happened. Right? Whereas an overt narcissist is just more willing to
put it out there. Yeah, it's there.
And
both of our exes were definitely overt.
Yes. But I have dealt with the covert. And it's more insidious. Give me an overt any day because you can kind of see them coming.
Right.
You can predict them.
Yeah.
The vulnerable narcissists, the victim narcissists, the coverts, you don't see it coming.
Yeah. And it's a lot harder to tell. Because, I mean, they have, to a degree, been victimized in their lives.
Yeah, they have.
And they just get stuck there.
They get stuck there. They get stuck in the victim role. And they cannot. And the one thing across the board is narcissists can't take accountability and they cannot apologize. It was never their fault, never will be their fault. It's always someone else's fault. And
you did a whole video on that the other day. I loved that video actually about how the number one cause of divorce isn't
lack of accountability.
Yeah. And you're 100% right on that.
They can't. They can never say, it was my fault. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. And so that's where, going back to the attachment wounds versus narcissism, even the DA, let's take the DA. The DA avoids conflict. They run away from conflict. And that can look manipulative, like you're stonewalling me.
Right.
When really their nervous system is so overwhelmed, they've gone into a freeze state. They can't help it, right? Until they get the tools to learn how to regulate.
Yeah.
A narcissist is stonewalling you out of control, right? Like, oh, you did me wrong. I'm not going to speak to you. How does that feel?
Right.
Right? And FAs can do that a little bit, but they back down real quick.
Yeah.
The narcissist will make you beg to re-engage, whereas the fearful avoidant might come back with apologies and re-engage. And, you know, so attachment wounds don't show the deep lack of empathy in a sustained way that narcissists do. You know, they might have a spiteful moment. The fearful avoidant might have a spiteful moment, or the DA might shut down and stonewall, but they're not doing it because they want to control and manipulate you, right? Like for a long period of time. They're doing it out of pain and out of nervous system dysregulation. The narcissist knows absolutely what they're doing and why they're doing it, and they feel no remorse for doing it.
Yeah, and they think they're right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why they do it.
And the crazy thing about narcissism that people don't understand is narcissists think that everybody thinks the way that they do.
Yeah.
They think that everybody is out to control, everybody's out to manipulate. It's a power game and they have to win. They think that everybody has the bad intentions that they do.
I think this is why it's why my ex still chooses to have no relationship with me, because he feels like in his mind, I'm still out to ruin him. I mean, I was never out to ruin him.
No.
But he seriously feels like I'm out to ruin him, manipulate his life, and do whatever I possibly can to make his life a living hell. And I'm like, dude, you ain't that important. I don't have that much power.
Right.
Like, I how could I have that much power to even do that if I wanted to?
Right.
I don't want to. I have no desire to. Right. It would require too much energy to do that. But that's really how he deep down he feels. Yeah. He feels like, oh, no, you're just going to, you're here to ruin my life.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not. I don't care that much.
No, I know. And, in dealing with a narcissistic individual in my life right now, it's the same thing. It's like, we don't care about you.
Yeah. We just want peace. Like,
we are happy in our lives. We don't care about you.
Yeah.
And you can't stand that you are irrelevant in our lives. You cannot take it.
Yeah.
So you have to cause problems. You have to cause trouble because the loss of the relevance is something that they cannot take. The rejection, a narcissist, if it's one thing they can't take, it's rejection.
Yeah. And
that's why your ex still doesn't speak to you, because you rejected him and he cannot move on from it.
Yeah, because he'll speak. So he has another child by another woman.
And I'm not diagnosing him with narcissism. Yeah, let's just be clear.
No, we're just giving our opinion. But he has a child with another woman, and he'll speak to her. But she didn't reject him. She didn't leave him. He left her. He didn't want her.
Yeah.
And so he'll have a relationship with her, but refuses to have one with me.
Yep. It's the ego. It's that slice to the ego that they just can't. Yeah. I mean, I saw a meme the other day that says, no one hates you more than the person you didn't choose. Yeah. I felt that.
But here's the irony of it. Deep down, it's not because he wants me anymore, right? I don't feel like my ex still wants me. He just wants me to still want him.
Yeah. It's a power because it's about power.
Yeah.
It's about power. You ended up with the power, right?
Which is peace.
Yeah.
I have peace and I'm happy. I'm genuinely happy.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I want that for him too. I want him to let go of the pain and the hurt because I want him to experience the same peace, joy, and happiness that I have.
Well, because that would be what was best for your son.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
But the narcissist doesn't want what's best for their child. They want to win. And even if it means using their child, they will manipulate their children. They will make their children lie.
Yeah.
They will alienate, their children against another parent. That is what they do because they have to, because the pain of rejection is so deep. And the desire for revenge on that, to tip the scales, right, is so deep.
Yeah.
Right? Like, well, you hurt me. Well, by golly, I'm going to hurt you worse, and I'm going to show you, and I'm going to get revenge on you, and I'm never going to let this go.
Yeah. And it makes me so sad for my son, of course, because in that type of situation, like my hands are just sort of tied. Like they're just tied. All I can do is reinforce that, that I've tried to explain that. I want to be, again, it's like I hesitate because I want to be careful what I say.
Yeah, of course.
Just in the event that, my ex would ever watch this, I have no idea. But, or in the event that my child would ever watch it. But I just want John Paul to know that his dad's pain, and this is a discussion that we had a few weeks ago, is not his burden to bear. And John Paul really struggles with that because John Paul is this perpetual people pleaser and he wants everyone to be emotionally okay. Yeah. And so when he sees that his dad is not, and there was a specific example, that happened when they were on vacation that, my son had told me about. And it's so hard to know what to say in those circumstances without throwing his dad under the bus. Sure. Because I don't want to.
That's right.
I don't want to. Now, I'll admit behind closed doors, or if I'm talking to my, Josh, my husband, or you, I'll be like, well, there's this teensy bit of satisfaction that like he truly is who I thought he was. And it proves to my son why I couldn't stay. But at the same time, it makes me deeply sad for him because he can't have the relationship that I would want for him to have with his dad, which is one of mutual respect and love, and one that he doesn't have to walk on eggshells around. Because right now I feel like that's really what he's having to do.
And it is sad.
Yeah.
And it is so sad to see a narcissistic parent in the relationship with their children.
Oh my gosh.
Because
that's
children want to love both parents.
Yes.
And they deserve to be able to love both parents. But the narcissist will always alienate. They will always disparage the other parent. If there's a divorce or breakup, and inside their marriage, even if you're still married to them, they will do that. Yeah. And they won't stop. It doesn't matter who tells them to stop. It doesn't matter what the effects are. They're going to keep doing it. And then eventually what happens is the child grows up, and if the child isn't narcissistic, if they don't develop narcissistic personality disorder as a result of their narcissistic parent, they start to really see it, which is in a way a good thing, but also a very sad thing.
It is a sad thing.
Because you have to go, oh, wow, like my parent's really not capable of a healthy love, and I'm never going to get that from them.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're always going to hate the other parent who's half of me.
Yeah.
And that's sad.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that, again, I want to be so careful
so
what I say
wrong.
because I don't want to throw my son under the bus.
It's so wrong to use your children to get back at your ex. It is wrong to disparage your ex to your child. It is wrong to talk poorly to your, in any way to your child about their other parent. Yep. You should never, ever, ever do that. No. It's horrible. No, it's coercive abuse. It's alienation. Yeah. And I don't care if your ex is the worst thing in the entire world. Yeah. That you have to realize that your child wants to love them and deserves to love them. Yeah. And I'm not saying there's not boundaries you might have to put in place to protect your child. Yeah. Absolutely, there might be boundaries, and that's okay. But you can't be the parent that's going, look, see how bad they are. See how crazy they are. Right. Look what your mom's trying to do. Look what your dad's trying to do.
Are for. Like you're
go out with your friends and bash your ex all day long. But don't take it home to your kid.
Your child's not meant to be your confidant in that aspect of your life.
No, that's parentification.
It is. And I've really tried. I have failed at times. I am human.
Hey, I've been around you a long time. You are, from what you've been through, you've done a great job.
Thanks, friend. Thanks. I have really tried, and
you really have.
Always try, and I will always speak highly of John Paul's dad to him. I mean, even when he was telling me about the circumstance and what happened, and I told him, your dad's pain is not your, it's not for you to carry. I was like, but you know what? Your dad has a big heart. He's sensitive. I was like, and he always has been sensitive. I was like, and he carries a lot of his pain because his heart is so big.
Right.
And I meant it.
Yeah.
Maybe, sort of. I meant it for John Paul because I want John Paul to know that I see the good in his dad.
Right. You have to.
I loved this man at one time. Right. Of course I see the good in him.
You created a child. He's half of
he's
him.
half of John Paul.
Right. And so you don't want him to go, well, half of me is bad.
Right.
That's not okay.
No.
Right. It's never, ever, ever okay.
No.
And I'm in the same boat.
I know.
I mean, even though my ex has passed, it's hard with my oldest because my oldest saw it. Like there was one time where when I divorced him and he was finally moving out of the house, he screamed at both of us so much that we were cowering in the corner while he was screaming at the top of his lungs. Like my daughter was 8.
Yeah.
She has memories.
Of course she does.
So in some sense, she's been like, Mom, don't gaslight me. Like don't say that, like, don't paint a picture of this person who he wasn't. And so that hurts me too because I'm like, dang.
Yeah, you can't win.
I can't win.
That's what I mean. Your hands are tied.
Yes.
No matter what, your hands are tied.
Right.
When it comes to your child and trying to protect them.
Right. And so I just try to focus on like good qualities. Like my ex was really intelligent. Like in fact, he was gifted. He had extremely high IQ. He took the ACT when he was like 13 and like got invited to Duke because he scored higher than like your average high school senior.
Your girls are going to be like brainiacs.
My oldest is gifted. Yeah. She's extremely high IQ. My oldest, I mean, she's fluent in Spanish in 7th grade. Fluent. Completely, fully fluent.
Really?
In Spanish.
I didn't know that. That's amazing.
She was chosen as like one of like the top, the Spanish teacher was trying to get extra credentials and she had to pick two students that she's ever worked with to like speak and like do this project. And my daughter was chosen. She earned a high school credit in Spanish in 7th grade. She earned a high school credit in algebra in 7th grade. She's been on the principal list for academics. She's in gifted and talented. She was doing algebra in like 2nd grade.
Well, and she's obviously very emotionally smart too. To
so
be able
emotionally
to come to
intelligent.
And be like, yeah, don't gaslight me about that, Mom. I know how. Like I know, I saw it.
And she has such a beautiful heart.
Yeah, she does.
She has such a beautiful heart. Like that child has so much empathy and compassion for the world, and she's been through so much. And she did trauma therapy. She's actually was released from therapy. She doesn't need therapy anymore. Her trauma therapist said, her trauma therapist said the other week, I don't even really know why I'm still seeing her. I can't prove medical necessity at this point. She's so well adjusted.
That's amazing.
And
I
so
feel
that
like Gabby's gonna like. I know we've talked about this before, but I feel like she's gonna like end up in like New York City as like this like famous artist, or I don't know, like just something like she's gonna surprise the heck out of us.
She's gonna be one of the most successful human beings because she has the intellect and the emotional intelligence and the good heart.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
and the drive.
Beautiful,
and she's just this amazing, amazing kiddo. And yet this kid saw me get physically abused, emotionally abused, financially abused. She saw chaos. But I mean,
that's all you though, Mom. I mean, seriously, I have known you for a long time too, and you've done all you can to help her bounce back and be the person that she has become. That's all you.
Thank you.
Seriously. We're very blessed because, I mean, John Paul is a fantastic, well-adjusted child, too. I mean, sometimes I look, I figured this.
I love that kid so
much. I figured this would be one we would cry because these are really painful things to talk about.
Yeah. She's such a good kid.
She is. We are very blessed.
And I look back on her childhood and I'm like, how?
I know. I look at John Paul.
How did that happen?
How did we not mess you up more?
How did I not screw you up? I know. How did I not screw you up? But she's able to talk about, but I mean, part of it is I got a really great trauma therapist for her.
Yeah,
I mean, Dr. Abby Jones, shout out to Dr. Abby Jones. She is on TikTok. Follow her. The progress she made with my daughter was fantastic. And you have to have help.
Yeah, you do.
And I learned as I healed myself, and I've always kind of been a proponent of attachment parenting. Like, picking your child up when they cry, really providing emotional attunement. Oh, I see why you would feel like that. Oh, I bet that did make you feel sad, didn't it? I understand that. Learning to challenge thoughts. Wow, that's a really strong stance on that. Let's challenge that thought, right?
Yeah.
And so that my child doesn't catastrophize. My child doesn't use black and white thinking because luckily with my training, I've been able to intervene and say, "Ooh, yeah, that's really painful. What would you say that emotion is that you're experiencing?
Yeah.
Where do you feel it in your body? Let's focus on that. Let's focus on taking it out of your body."
Yeah.
Right? So I feel like and Dr. Abby taught me a lot about working with a child with trauma. And so, I mean, I did everything I could.
You did a great job.
Thank you. And then I think that's why somebody who hurts my child, I'm like,
them fighting words.
the strongest boundary I can possibly put in place, I will put in place if you are going to hurt my child.
Yeah, she's been hurt enough.
Yeah, like don't you dare.
And she's like,
don't you dare come for her.
It's ironic. Her story is similar to yours in terms of, rising from the ashes like a phoenix. And I mean, because she has been from a very young age, pretty traumatized and been through a lot and kind of had to do the work to bounce back. And that's really difficult to do from a young age.
And she's been good for a few years. She's been good for many years now.
Yeah.
Like like I said, the child, she's half fluent in Japanese.
Yeah, or Japanese. Or
She's taught herself Japanese. She's
fluent in Spanish and half fluent in Japanese.
Like becoming fluent in Japanese. And she wants to do an exchange program in Japan.
That's amazing.
Yeah, she does. And she's her base attachment was fearful avoidant. I would put her as secure. She's more emotionally intelligent than half my clients. At 13 years old.
Yeah.
Because she's had to rebuild. And there are people that go towards PTSD and there are people that go towards post-traumatic growth. And I did everything I could to steer her there. And I don't want to take credit because she is her own human and she had to do the work. She had to face the hard feelings. She had to feel those hard feelings. She had to talk about those hard feelings. And she is a kind, loving person. Like when I have that Bark app that monitors her phone. So I see every text message, right? She can't hide a thing from this mama.
Yeah.
And the way that she is a good friend and the way that she offers other people emotional support.
Oh, that's big.
And forgiveness when people hurt her is amazing.
Yeah.
I compliment
that app.
Yeah, it's really good. It shows you everything.
I think I want to know everything my son. Maybe I don't.
Yeah,
my son's almost 18, so there's a sense of me that's like, okay, I'm ready to sort of let that go. But, I wish they'd had that when he was 13.
Yeah, it's great because she's a 13-year-old with all the internet exposed to her, right? Like I'm not going to let her just like have full reign of everything on the internet without me know what's going on.
Yeah, that's smart.
This has been a really long episode.
It has.
I think, let me give hope for people who have children with narcissists.
Yeah.
Please let me give you hope. I'm going to look into the camera right now and I'm going to say, they're not necessarily going to be screwed up.
All right.
There are things that you can do to promote their emotional well-being. You can teach them how to set boundaries with the narcissistic parent. You can teach them emotional attunement. You can teach them and foster their empathy towards others. I did it. I'm so proud of my oldest child, and she went through a lot. So don't lose hope. If you are in a divorce or a custody battle with a narcissist, just know they can absolutely thrive.
And I think that is honestly a wonderful way to wrap it up, because it's so many people are stuck in relationships or marriages with narcissists.
Or co-parenting relationships.
And they're afraid to leave because of what they feel like it will do to the child.
No, it can be figured out.
Yes.
It can be figured out.
And it will take time, and there will be pain, but eventually it will get figured out. We sit here as living proof that it's possible.
Your son is amazing too.
He is.
Brag on your son for just 1 second, please.
Yeah, he's, there's a million things that I could say that I won't get into, but John Paul, of course, is, he's thrived in terms of, his academics and the junior ROTC. I mean, I give a lot of props to the ROTC because he sort of found his calling there his freshman year at Henry Clay, and he found his people. And what it did for John Paul, somebody who didn't have a whole lot of confidence, is it created a lot of confidence in him. And when he was able to have that confidence, it just changed the trajectory of his whole high school career.
Right.
He started to make better grades. He had, a good group of friends. He found a girlfriend, all these things that have really helped him thrive.
And he's a good-hearted person.
He has a huge heart, a massive heart. Sometimes
Lots of
too
empathy.
big of a heart. Because there are so many things, like sitting here listening to you talk, if I could go back and do one thing differently, I would have put John Paul in therapy at an early age, and I didn't do that. And he probably needed it.
Yeah.
He definitely needed it. And I know it's not too late, but now, John Paul's 4 months shy of his 18th birthday.
Right.
I just have to have faith that he has a good enough foundation. And I know that he's really starting to see things. And again, I want to be careful what I say, because I don't want to throw him under the bus, right? But John Paul, prior to even, 6-8 months ago, if anything came up about his dad, he was, armor on, super defensive.
Super defensive. And that is a sign when one parent or when one child is so inappropriately defensive of the other parent, it rings trauma bond bells.
Yes. And he's let go of some of that as of recently. And so I really think he's starting to see, some traits within his dad. And I say this lightly because it's not that he's loving his dad any less. He loves his dad deeply, so deeply. And they have a pretty good relationship. But they have a good relationship because John Paul is who he is.
Yeah.
It's true.
And here's the thing. Again, if you are co-parenting or married to a narcissistic individual, you have to understand that kids grow up and they figure it out. They figure it out. I promise you, to the depths of my soul, that they watch, they see, they learn.
Yep.
They know, one parent doesn't speak bad about my other parent, but this parent speaks terrible of my other parent, right?
Yeah.
This parent is always encourages my relationship with my other parent. The narcissistic parent discourages my relationship with the other parent.
And again, it makes those sort of things are what make a child feel safe, and children equate love with safety.
Yes.
That's it.
Healthy
that's all
love,
they know. Yeah, that's all they know.
And so if the child, and then the young child, this is where it's sad, the young child of a narcissistic parent starts to realize, and this is where alienation can start to happen if the other parent doesn't intervene or a court doesn't intervene or whatever, is that if I learn as a little child that the only way I can gain love and acceptance is to hate my other parent, I'm going to start telling that parent that I hate the other parent.
Yeah.
and then secretly like be torn on the inside because I don't hate my other parent. I love my other parent, but I have to pretend like I hate my other parent
to receive
love and acceptance from the narcissistic parent.
And that's sad.
It's
but eventually they catch on.
Beyond heartbreaking, but they do catch on. Okay. And if you intervene in the right way, get your child in therapy. If you have to go to court to get your child in therapy, get your child in therapy. Provide your child with emotional attunement. Don't throw the other parent under the bus. Don't be like, well, that was awful of your, dad to do. Don't do that. Say, I'm so sorry that happened. I can understand why you would feel sad about that, or I understand why you're confused about that. I'm here for you. If you want to talk, if you want to talk, like, how are those emotions sitting in your body right now? Like, use emotional attunement. Get really educated on neuroregulation and the regulation of someone's nervous system, and teach your child how to regulate their nervous system. Teach them how to process their emotions. Teach them what boundaries are appropriate. If your ex did something completely inappropriate, it's okay to say, I agree with you that was inappropriate, and then I can understand why that didn't make you feel good, and I'm very sorry that you experienced that. But don't go and say, well, it's because your dad's a narcissist and he's mentally ill and he's terrible. Don't do that.
Right.
But you can validate and you can teach how to process those difficult feelings, and you can get them with a good therapist that can also help them.
And the good news is that Dr. Hensley is eventually going to do an entire course on this subject.
I am, because I have studied it for 20 years. I've lived it.
That's right.
And I'm on round 2 of living it.
Yeah.
Without giving any details.
This has to be round 2. She's working on a course right now.
My husband is amazing. My husband is not the narcissist in our life.
No,
let me just put that really clear. My husband is the opposite of a narcissist.
Yes.
Okay.
So she's currently working on a second course right now.
I am.
But this might have to be your third course for sure.
It will.
It seems like you just have so much knowledge on it. And I feel like it just really resonates with people, especially if they're going through a divorce with someone who is a narcissist or has narcissistic traits. So if you want to learn more about Dr. Hensley's services, go to her website at thedatingdecoder.com. And please, again, guys, if you are enjoying this content, continue to listen, follow, subscribe, like, share, love, leave a review, all of the things. We are just so appreciative to be here.
Because I just want to help people.
Yeah, I know. I never want to go without saying how grateful we are for the community that, follows Dr. Hensley on all platforms. I'm so grateful to be a part of it. So check us out, keep following, and until next time, peace, love, and perspective.